Okay, so the chapter we are going to start now is our 7th chapter, that is control and coordination, right? So we're going to start this chapter. Let's see what we have in this chapter. Now, before starting this chapter, we need to know some few basic terms. Okay, some few basic terms we need to know, we need to understand them so that we can understand this chapter better. Okay, first term that we are going to understand, first term that we are going to see is stimuli. Okay, also written as stimulus. What is stimulus? Stimulus is the changes in the environment to which living organism respond. It is a change in the environment to which living organisms respond. Now what does it mean? It means, suppose you are in a room and you are feeling too cold. Okay, now what you are feeling? You are feeling too cold. So the environment has changed to cold, right? So what you can do? You can now respond to it and you can now fetch a blanket, right? So these are called changes in the environment, and that is also called as stimulus. So naturally living organisms, they respond to this stimulus. Now what could be a stimulus or stimuli? It could be heat, cold, sound, smell, taste, touch, pressure, gravity, water. Everything is actually a change in environment. Okay, how does living organism respond to these changes? They respond by body movements. Okay, so we have understood what is stimulus, because in this chapter again and again you will see this word repeatedly, that is stimulus, stimuli. Repeatedly you will see use of this word. That's why you need to understand. Okay, now next part, that is coordination or control and coordination. What is control and coordination? For a proper response to a stimulus, many organs in body should work together. What does it mean again? Suppose you are out in the sun. Okay, suppose you are out in the sun, and what you are feeling? You are feeling that the sunlight is very much high. Okay, so what you can do now? You can take your hand and you can cover your eye, right? So that your eye gets a shade, so that your sunlight doesn't goes to directly to your eye. So what you are doing actually? You are responding to a stimulus, right? Which stimulus? That is sunlight. Many organs. Does many organs involved in it? Yes. Your hands, the muscles of your hand, your brain, your nervous system, everything works together. That's why you are able to take a decision that I will cover my eyes, right? My eyes are hurting, I will cover my eyes. So that is called as coordination. The working together of various organs in an organism produce a proper response to a stimulus called coordination, right? That's what coordination means. I already explained. I hope I am clear about coordination. Next is in animals, control and coordination. Animal means we are talking about us. And in animals, control and coordination is done by nervous system, that is our brain, nerves, spinal cord, and endocrine system. Endocrine system means here our glands are included. We will come into that. In details we will discuss what endocrine system does, what our nervous system does, how it does. We will come into that also. But for control and coordination, we need two systems, or there are two systems which are responsible for this control and coordination in our body. That is nervous system and endocrine system. Okay, in plant they do not have any nervous system. So what they have only hormones. One thing I want to tell you, that our endocrine system also works on hormones. So plants, they also have hormones, but they lack the nervous system. They do not have any nervous system. So they have chemical substances called as plant hormones or phytohormones. The phyto word is associated with plant. Wherever you hear this word phyto, keep in mind that they are talking about a plant. Okay, let's go to the next slide. Now, coordination in animals. In animals, we said already that nervous system and which system? Endocrine system works together for control and coordination, right? Before understanding nervous system, we need to know what do we mean by nervous system? What we have inside our nervous system? Our nervous system has three main things. One is brain, second is spinal cord, and third is the nerves. These are the three things that makes our nervous system. Okay. Now again, we are coming to the nervous system in details. Before understanding nervous system in details, we need to understand that what is receptor, effector, sensory nerves and motor nerves. Let's take an example. Suppose in your home, the water is leaking from your basin. Okay, the water is leaking from your basin. Now you see it that the water is leaking from the basin. What do you do next? You now go to your mother and you tell your mother that the water is leaking from the basin. Now what your mother does? Your mother calls your father that look, the water is leaking from the basin. Your father takes a decision. What decision it takes? Your father calls plumber. Then plumber comes and fixes the leakage, right? This is an example. Our body also works in the same manner. We have receptors. Receptors will do the job which is done by you. What you have done? You have seen that the water is leaking, right? So you have sensed the problem. So you are sensing the changes in your house, right? So receptor, what they will do? Receptors are nothing but sense organs. So what will they sense? They will sense the stimulus. They will sense the changes in the environment. Okay? They will sense the changes in the environment. Now, after that what happened? Okay, we are coming to that. Before that, let's see what are the various types of receptors we have. We have photoreceptors. Where are they located? They are located in our eyes. What do they detect? They detect light. That's why we are able to see. We have phonoreceptors. Phonoreceptors, where are they located? They are located in our ears. What they help in? They help in detecting sound. We have olfactory receptors. Where are they located? They are located on the nose. What they help to detect? They help to detect smell. We have gustatory receptors. Where are they located? They are located in the tongue. What they help to detect? They detect taste. Next, what we have? We have tango receptors. Where are they located? They are located all over our skin, and they help to detect touch. They help to detect what? Touch. So, five types of receptors we have studied. Photoreceptors detects light. Phonoreceptors detect sound. Olfactory receptors detect smell. Gustatory receptors detects taste. Tango receptors, they detect touch. Okay. Next is effector. Effector is what? Effector are the muscles and the glands which respond to the information from the brain and spinal cord through motor nerves. What does it mean? It is the same thing. It is the same thing that the plumber did. You can understand it by the plumber. What the plumber did? The plumber responded to the situation, right? The plumber responded to the situation and he fixed the leakage. So effectors are same as that. Suppose there is light, okay, suppose there is too much light is coming towards your eye and you close your eyes, right? So your eyes, the muscle in your eyes, they will be termed as effectors, okay. Next is sensory nerves. Sensory nerves, what they do? Sensory nerves, these are the nerves that carry information from the receptors to the brain and spinal cord, right? So who did this job? Your mother did this job, right? You are the receptor, right? Your mother heard from you that there is a leakage and passed this information to your father, and your father took the decision. So we can compare your father with brain and spinal cord, right? And your mother with sensory nerves, right? Because your mother carried the information from the receptor, that means you, to your father. So that is sensory nerve. What is motor nerve? Motor nerve will carry the information, from the brain to the effector. Now look, from receptor the news is coming to the brain through sensory nerves, right? Now again from the brain the information should go to effectors, right? And that will go by the motor nerves. So that is the function of motor nerve. Again we will get to understand it more in a better way when we will go to the reflex arc. Okay, let's see the next slide. So this is our nervous system. What our nervous system contains? Our nervous system contains brain. This is brain. Our nervous system contains brain, a spinal cord, which is in our vertebral column, and the nerves which are coming out from our spinal cord, right? This is what we have in our nervous system. Human nervous system. What are the parts of human nervous system? Human nervous system can be divided into two parts mainly. One part is central nervous system. Second part is peripheral nervous system. Central nervous system consists of brain and spinal cord, and all the nerves other than brain and spinal cord, all the nerves that are coming out of brain and spinal cord, they come under peripheral nervous system. So our nervous system can be divided into two parts. One is central nervous system, that is brain and the spinal cord, and peripheral nervous system, which is coming out from the brain and spinal cord. Okay, now this contains, look, central nervous system contains what? Brain and spinal cord. Peripheral nervous system contains or consists cranial nerves arising from brain. So okay, we learned a new term, that is cranial nerve, right? Cranial nerves are those nerves which will come out from the brain. Okay, and spinal nerves, what are spinal nerves? Are those nerves which are coming out from the spinal cord. So two types of nerves that come out from central nervous system. Nerves which comes out from the brain, they are cranial nerves. Nerves which come out from the spinal cord, they are known as spinal nerve. Okay, next let's see. So this is our central nervous system, brain and spinal cord. You see, spinal cord is inside our vertebral column. Here you can see, right? Let's go next. Nerve cell. Till now we are talking about central nervous system, nerves, brain, spinal cord. Question comes, what are they actually made up of? What type of cells they're made up of? They're actually made up of nerve cell, neuron. Nerve tissue you have also studied in class 9, right? And we have learned in class 9 that the special ability of nervous tissue is that they can carry electrical impulses. We have studied this in class 9 also, right? So let's see, what does neuron have? Neuron is the structural and functional unit of nervous system. Okay, structural and functional unit. Structural means the structure of our nervous system is also made up of neurons, and the function that is performed by your nervous system, that is also because of many neurons working together. Okay, that's why we are calling it as structural unit and functional unit of our nervous system. It has cell body called cyton. This is cell body which is called as cyton, containing a nucleus. Here you can see the nucleus and cytoplasm. Obviously this is cytoplasm. It has a several branch structure called as dendrites. So these are dendrites which are coming out from cell body. It has a long nerve fibers called as axon. This is also coming from cell body, but this is comparatively longer. So this is called as what? This is called as axon, which is covered by a protective cover called myelin sheath. Okay, so this protective cover, that is called as myelin sheath. Now this protective cover will be made up of what? Cells. The cells which make this protective cover, they are known as Schwann cells. Okay, they are known as Schwann cells. Now between this Schwann cells there will be a gap. This gap is known as node of Ranvier, named after the man who discovered it. Okay, and where our axon ends, that is called as axon terminals. Okay, let's see next is what? Messages pass through nerve cell in the form of chemical and electrical signal called as nerve impulse. So the signal will pass from or through these cells. That's how when you touch something, you get sensation in your brain, right? Because the information is being passed from your hand to your brain. Now if it is being passed from your hand to your brain, there should be a wire-like mechanism. That mechanism is done by this neuron. Every cell, every nerve cell works like this, like a wire. Okay, like electrical wire. So it conveys the information in the form of what? Electrical signal and chemical signal. Okay, the dendrites receive the information and starts a chemical reaction which produces electrical impulse which passes through the axon. We'll see in the next slide how it happens. Look, this is what we call transmission of messages through neuron. How it is happening? Dendrites, it is receiving the, let me take the pen. Yes, dendrites, what it is doing? It is receiving the information. So dendrite is receiving the information. Information is coming through dendrite. Then it is coming to the cell body. The cell body is creating a chemical reaction. Thus, it is generating a electrical impulse. That electrical impulse is now traveling through axon and it is going to the next nerve cell. It is received by the next nerve cell through its dendrite. Again, same process continues and the electrical impulse flows like this. Again, let's see how it happens. The dendrites, they receive the information from previous neuron. There must be another neuron here. From them, the dendrite receives the information. After that, what happens? Chemical reaction starts. After that chemical reaction, what happens? The chemical reaction generates an electrical impulse, which is conveyed through what? Through axon to the next axon, to this terminals. And this terminals, from this terminals, next neuron receives the signal. Again, the same thing happens. Okay. Now there is a special name for this terminal where two neurons join. That is called as this place, where two neurons join. That is called as synapse. That is called as synapse or synapse. How does it synapse or synapse work? Like this. Electrical impulse coming, right? This electrical impulse is secreting neurotransmitters. This neurotransmitter is again received by the next axon. From here, it is received by the next one, and the next one again converts it into electrical impulse, and again it is carried forward. Here you can see this is presynaptic neuron. It means this one, and this one that you are seeing here It is post-synaptic neuron. It means this one, right? So suppose this is neuron 1 and this is neuron 2. So from neuron 1 to neuron 2, information is going by neurotransmitters. Neurotransmitter helps in sending this information from this one, from neuron number 1 to neuron number 2. Neuron number 1 means presynaptic neuron, the neuron which is before this synapse, presynaptic neuron, and to the postsynaptic neuron means to this one. Now it's not clear that always this one will be presynaptic, that one will be prosynaptic. This we are calling as presynaptic because we are focusing on this synapse. Okay, because we are focusing on this synapse, we are calling this as presynaptic neuron. Okay, so this is how through synapse the information is transferred from one neuron to another neuron. Impulse is coming, received by the dendron, information converted into electrical impulse, carried to the dendron towards the synapse, to the axon, carried by the axon to the axon ending. From axon ending it is received by the following neuron. Again same thing happens, and that's how you can see by the arrow, that's how the information is flowing through these neurons. Our nerves, they are nothing but they are actually bundle of this kind of cells. Okay, next is our brain. Brain is the main component of our nervous system, right? The brain is the main coordination center or coordinating center in human body, right? It is protected by cranium. Cranium means if you tuck your head, the skull that you say, that is called as cranium. Under this cranium it has 3 layers of membrane, or 3 membrane called as meninges. So the covering of the brain is called as meninges. Very, very important for exam. Covering of the brain is called as what? Meninges. With a fluid. So between the 3 layers there is a fluid also. That fluid is known as cerebrospinal fluid. Cerebrospinal fluid, or in short we also call them as CSF. Okay, CSF, which protects the brain from what? From shocks. Because your brain is so delicate, na? It needs premium protection. That is given by first a hard box-like structure, that is our cranium or skull. Under that we have 3 membranes, that is meninges filled with cerebrospinal fluid, which protects the brain. Okay, and the brain has main 3 parts. What are those 3 parts? Forebrain, midbrain, and hindbrain. So there are 3 parts of the brain: forebrain, midbrain, and hindbrain. Okay, let's see one by one the parts. Forebrain and their function. Forebrain, it consists of 2 things: cerebrum and olfactory lobes. So forebrain is made up of what? Cerebrum and olfactory lobe. It is the thinking part of the brain. So the thinking job that you do, that you are thinking that okay, I am seeing this video, I am learning this thing, I am grasping the information, this is done by forebrain. And also it controls the voluntary actions. Voluntary action means your willing actions. Suppose you want to clap, the clapping. You want to shout, the shouting. You want to talk, the talking. All these are voluntary actions which you are doing by your will, by your conscious will. That is called voluntary action. That is done by, or that is controlled by forebrain. It controls touch, smell, hearing, taste, sight, and mental activities like thinking, learning, memory, emotion, etc. So forebrain is very, very important. Okay, forebrain is very, very important, because you see most of the jobs that are done by our forebrain only. Smelling, to be particular, smelling is processed in olfactory lobes. Okay, next is midbrain. Midbrains, what it does, it controls involuntary actions. Involuntary action means like involuntary muscles we have studied, right? Where are they present? They are present in our lungs, they are present in our digestive tract. All the movement, all those involuntary movements, they are controlled by midbrain. Also the reflex movements of head, neck and eyes, that are also controlled by our midbrain. Next we will see that what is reflex movement, that we will see next also. Next is hindbrain. Hindbrain is consist of cerebellum, pons and medulla. Don't confuse cerebellum with cerebrum. These two are different things, okay? Don't get confused between them. Cerebellum is the part that controls body movements, balance and posture. If you think, sir, I walk, I don't think that I am balancing. You are doing a tremendous balance. Your body is working so much. When you are cycling, when you are moving, when you are walking also, your body needs to balance, right? And that is done by our hindbrain. To be precise, the cerebellum part of the hindbrain. Okay. Pons, what it does? It controls respiration. It controls respiration. Next is medulla. What it does? It controls heartbeat, blood pressure, swallowing, coughing, sneezing, vomiting. Actions like this are controlled by medulla. Okay. This photo is very much important. This page that you are seeing is very much important. You take a screenshot of this one, okay, and copy this one into your notebook. Okay, it will be helpful for you to remember also. Okay, we are going to the next page. Yes, this is the diagram you have in your book. So this is the cerebrum part, right? The part of the forebrain. This is the cranium, skull, this one. This total one is forebrain, right? Next, this is pons. You can see this one is pons. This one is medulla and this one is cerebellum. So this part is our hindbrain, right? And this one is our midbrain. This one is our midbrain. So maximum part, this part is forebrain. This maximum, let me use another color. See, this maximum part is forebrain, right? This small one is midbrain, and this one, last one, is our hindbrain. This one is our hindbrain. So this is the structure of the brain. This is very much important for your exam also. This diagram, you have to practice this diagram at least 2 to 3 times at your home. Okay. Next is spinal cord. We said central nervous system is made up of two things, brain and spinal cord. Brain we have seen, now we are seeing spinal cord. The spinal cord starts from the brain and extends through the vertebral column. Vertebral column means if you touch your back, in the middle, the column that you are able to feel, that is called as vertebral column. And it has 31 pairs of spinal nerves. We say the nerves which are coming out of the spinal cord, they are called as spinal nerves. So how many spinal nerves are there? 31 pairs. Very important to remember. Okay, so 31 pairs of spinal nerves are there. It carries messages to the brain and from the brain, and also controls reflex action of the lower body. Okay, lower body means I am not talking about head, I am talking about the part which is down your head, okay, which is below your head. And also in this you don't need to remember, but also see the first 8 nerves, they are called as cervical nerves. After that the 12 nerves, they are called thoracic nerves. After that 5 nerves, they are called as lumbar nerves. After that 5 nerves, they are called as sacral nerves. After that we have coccygeal nerve. Okay, so how many nerves we have? How many types of spinal nerves we have? We have cervical nerves, thoracic nerves, lumbar nerves, sacral nerves and coccygeal nerves. Okay, no need to remember their number, you just remember their name. Next is reflex action. A question this year also came from this part. This is very, very important for the next year also. This year they also asked a question from here. They asked to describe reflex arc. Let's see what is reflex arc. Reflex action is a sudden and unconscious involuntary response to the effectors to stimulus. It means what? Example what they are giving? They are giving example. We withdraw a hand if we touch suddenly a hot object, right? Now why does it happen? Why you cannot control? Why don't you do it willingly? Because suppose there is something very hot and you are touching it, then you have to think, okay sir, okay, I am touching this one is very hot, now my hand is burning, now I should remove my hand. If this happens, what will happen? Your hand will burn immediately, right? There will be tissue damage. So this is a very urgent reaction. So in urgent reaction, there is no time to inform your brain. This happens without informing the brain, without thinking. This happens immediately, right? Example we can give that suppose in your school you fall off from the stair and you got injured in your head. Okay, you got injured in your head and your principal called your parents or your mother. What your mother will do? Immediately she will come to school, or she will call your father and say that, okay, our daughter has fallen in the school. She is bleeding from the head. Should we go to school? Will she discuss? Will she spend so much time discussing when the situation is urgent? No, na. That is also same happens in case of reflex action. Okay, the same thing happens in case of reflex action. Without any thinking, what happens is, in this reflex action, the nerves in the skin, the receptor, we are actually talking about receptor. Can you recall that what are these receptors are called, which are present in the skin? Detects heat and passes the message through sensory nerves. So it is detecting the heat, passing the message through sensory neuron to where? To the spinal cord, right? And then the information passes through motor nerves to the effector. So from here, the message again comes to your muscle that you just withdraw the hand. Okay, as fast you can do, you just withdraw the hand from the heat. So this is happening so fast. Okay, and this is interneuron in the spinal cord, which is conveying the information from this one to this one, from sensory neuron to motor neuron. Okay, so you see there is no involvement of the brain. There is no involvement of the brain. Now there is a catch, that this happens if there is sudden reflex action. We are talking of our hand, our legs. In case of this, there is no involvement of brain. But if you are talking of a reflex action of your eyes, in that case the brain will be involved, because brain is near, right, to the eye. Suppose something is coming towards your eyes, what you do? You just close your eyes. How you do? That is also reflex action. But in that case, the spinal cord is not informed. In that case, the brain only itself takes the decision, because the brain is near. Okay, so the nearer it is, the faster it can respond. So in case of the reflex action which is above your neck, it is controlled by your brain. In case of the reflex action which is below your neck, that is controlled by your spinal cord. There is nothing rocket science in it. It is just the nearer it is, the response, the faster it will respond. Okay. Now this pathway is called, the pathway that we have understood, that is called as reflex arc. Now in exam, if they are asking that what is reflex arc, if they are asking what is reflex arc, for 2 marks, you can just give this diagram. If they are not asking for the diagram, if they are asking for the diagram, then you need to show this diagram, or the diagram that you have in your book. But if they're not asking for the diagram, you just show this box diagram what we have. Okay, this chart you can show. Same thing, same things are written here also, but in a form of chart. Stimulus, receptors or the sense organs, then through sensory nerves to spinal cord, from spinal cord to motor nerves to effectors, right? Same thing is happening. Reflex arc is, this pathway is called as reflex arc. This pathway, the pathway that you are seeing here na, that is called as reflex arc. The pathway of reflex action is called as reflex arc. In a reflex arc, the stimulus is received by the receptor, right? And it passes through the sensory nerves to the spinal cord. Through the sensory nerve to the spinal cord it is passed, right? From the spinal cord what happens? From the spinal cord the information passes through motor nerves. Through motor nerves it is going through the effectors, and that is giving us the response. Okay. Next let's see same reflex arc, just in a different picture. Okay. After this we will go to the coordination in plants. So if you see coordination in plants, we said that in plants coordination is done by what? Plant hormones, na? And we have also given them a special name. What special name we have given them? Phytohormones. We have called them as phytohormones. How many types of plant hormones are there? There are main 5 types of plant hormones. How many types? 5 types of plant hormone. Auxin, gibberellin, cytokinin, abscisic acid. Let me mark this two with different color. Abscisic acid and ethylene. Why I have marked this two as with different color? I'll just discuss. Okay. See. Auxins, what they do? They help in cell division, right? Cell elongation and growth. So auxins, they mainly help in cell division and cell elongation. How does they help in cell elongation? What the auxins do? They helps to make the cell wall much flexier. Okay, much thinner. If the cell wall becomes thinner, the cell will easily elongate. That's how auxins work. How does gibberellins work? They help in the growth of stem and branches. So gibberellins, what they do? They help in the growth of stem and branches. Cytokinins, what they do? They also help in cell division. And formation of fruits and seeds. Okay. So that is the function of auxin, gibberellin and cytokinin. Auxin, what it does? Helps in cell division and cell elongation. Gibberellin helps in growth of branches and stem. Cytokinins, what they do? They help in cell division. Auxins also help in cell division. Cytokinins also help in cell division. From the name itself, it should be clear. Cyto means cell, kinin means breaking. So obviously it will help in cell division, and it also helps in formation of fruit and seeds. Okay. These 3, number 1, number 2 and number 3, these 3 are actually helping in what? These 3 are actually helping in growth of the plant, whereas the rest of the 2, first one inhibits growth and affects the wilting of the leaves. Wilting of the leaf means when there is less amount of water for the plant, the plant leaves, they wilt, they droops, right? And that is controlled by abscisic acid. Okay. And ethylene, what it does? Helps in flowering and ripening of fruit. Ethylene helps in ripening of fruit. How it helps in ripening of fruit? It converts acid into sugar, and it also breaks the cell wall. That's why when a fruit ripens, it becomes sweeter, because the acid is being transformed into sugar, and also it becomes soft because ethylene is breaking the cell walls also. Okay, that is the function of ethylene. So these 2 are not helping in growth, whereas these first three are helping in growth. So these first 3, we categorize them as growth promoters. These first 3, they are growth promoters. This last 2, they are called as growth inhibitors. Okay. So these are coordination in plants. Now plants also show some movement. What type of movements plants show? Plants show mainly two types of movement. What are those two types of movement? They show tropic movement. Tropic movement is also called as directional movement, and they'll also show Nastic movement, that is non-directional movement. So two types of movements plants show, that is tropic movement, which is directional movement, and Nastic movement, which is non-directional movement. Directional movement, what do you mean by directional movement? Let's see in tropic movement. Tropic movements are directional movement towards or away from stimulus. Towards or away from stimulus means, look, the plants cannot walk. The plants cannot walk. But what the plant will do if it needs water and water is not near to it, or the light is not near to it? So the plant cannot go and walk and stand in under the sun. So what the plant can do, that the plant can grow towards what it needs, towards the light. The plant can grow towards the sun. The plant can grow towards the water, right? Whatever it needs, it can grow towards them, but it cannot move from the place. But we call it as movement. What type of movements are there? There are phototropism. Phototropism means when the effector, or the stimulus is light, that is phototropism. When the stimulus is gravity, that is geotropism. When the stimulus is chemical, we call it chemotropism. When the stimulus is water, we call it as hydrotropism. Means when the plant is moving because of because of light, towards light or away from light, we will call it as phototropism. When it is moving towards gravity or away from gravity, we will call it geotropism. When it is moving towards a chemical or away from a chemical, we will call it chemotropism. When it is moving towards water or away from water, we will call it hydrotropism. Okay. Phototropism, let's see, is the movement of plant in response to light. We said the light, photo means light. If it is towards light, it is called positive phototropism. Okay, this is very much important, that you have to understand what is positive and negative tropism. When a plant is growing towards a stimulus, when a plant is going towards a stimulus, that type of movement we will call positive tropism. Okay, here towards light, positive phototropism. Away from light, negative phototropism. Okay, away from the stimulus, negative. Towards the stimulus, positive. Okay, example, bending of shoot towards light, right? If it is away from light, it is called negative. It is towards light, it is called positive. Bending of roots away from light, yes, the roots, they grow opposite to the light, so that is negative phototropism. The shoot or the stem that grows towards the light, that is positive phototropism. Same as geotropism. It is a movement of plant in response to what? In response to gravity. So geotropism is in response to gravity. If it is towards gravity, it is called positive geotropism. Like downward growth of roots. So roots grow towards gravity, right? Away from gravity, negative geotropism. Like roots, they grow away from the shoot. Have you understood what is positive and negative? Positive means towards the stimulus, negative means away from the stimulus. So the shoot is growing away from gravity, that is negative geotropism, right? Away from the stimulus. The root is growing towards gravity, that is positive geotropism. Okay, chemotropism is, it is a movement of plant in response to chemical stimulus. This is seen where? When the pollen tube grows towards ovule. This we'll understand when we'll go to the reproduction chapter. Okay. Next is hydrotropism. It is a movement of plants. Obviously, hydro means water. Tropism means directional movement. So when the water will move towards the water, root of the plant, they grow towards the water. So what we will call hydrotropism or positive hydrotropism. Sir, if there is any negative hydrotropism, yes, there is negative hydrotropism also. You have seen I have uploaded a video also on this in the school channel. You can go and visit that video. There I have shown where we see negative hydrotropism. See tropic movements. Here you can see the plant is, here you can see the plants, they are growing towards what? Towards the light source, na? So this is positive phototropism. Here look, the shoot is growing away from, or the stem that is growing away from gravity, right? So that is negative geotropism. And the roots, they are growing towards the ground. That is what? That is positive geotropism. Here it is growing towards the water, na? So that is positive hydrotropism. So these are some animations of tropic movement. Okay, next, this is chemotropism. I already told that the pollen tube, this again we will discuss in the chapter of reproduction. The pollen grains do not enter. Look, pollen grains are what? They are actually male gametophyte. They are represents of the male sex, right? Here egg is the representative of female sex. Now pollen grains, they do not directly go to the egg. What happens is a tube grows towards the egg. How the tube knows that it will grow towards the egg, or the egg is in this way? It knows by chemotropism. So due to certain chemical, it follows the chemical and it grows towards the egg. So that is chemotropism. Next is what? Nastic movement. Nastic movement are what? Two types of movement we have studied. Tropic was directional movement. Nastic means these are non-directional movement, which are neither towards or away from stimulus. So they do not depend on growth. We said when a plant needs to reach somewhere, it grows towards the direction, right? But here there is no stimulus which is directing the plant, right? So there is no growth. Here there is no growth and no direction. What happens if we touch a touch me not plant? What happens? The leaf that fold up immediately. Look, the leaf folding up immediately, na? So this is a nastic movement. Two types of plant movement. Tropic movement we are studying till now. This is called as nastic movement, where there is, as soon as you touch, what happens? The leaf droops. So there is no growth, there is no direction, only movement. And it is also faster. It is also faster than the tropic movement. How it happens? It depending on the amount of water in the leaves, it swells or shrinks. So it depends on the water pressure or turgor pressure. Here you can see it is also in response to touch. Is there any growth here? Is there any direction? No, it is just closing. Can you tell me what is the name of this plant? This plant is called as, no, I will not tell. You people tell me what this plant is called as. Okay. Next, we are coming to our endocrine system. We are coming to our endocrine system. In endocrine system, we are talking about some glands that we have. Look, our nervous system mostly controls by electrical impulse. Here, this is another way of control and coordination where chemicals come handy, right? So there are some glands. These glands help in controls and coordination of our body. What are those glands? Pineal glands, hypothalamus, pituitary, thyroid gland, parathyroid gland, thymus, adrenal, pancreas, testes and ovary. Look, there are so many functions of this gland, so many secretions of this gland. If we want to continue with everything, I can make a 3 hours video only on one gland. Okay, I can make a 3-hour video only on one gland. How many glands you are seeing? And we'll study all this in 2 minutes. Because we have this much only in our syllabus. In higher class, we'll learn more. Okay. So let's see what are the glands that perform various functions. Let's see. First is when we are frightened or angry, adrenal gland produces, where these adrenal glands are located, they are located just above our kidney, produces adrenaline hormone. So when you are angry, this adrenaline hormone is produced, and which is sent through blood to the heart and rib muscles and diaphragm. This increases breathing rate and also more supply to the muscle to prepare body either run away or fight with the enemy. Means this hormone is also called as fight or flight hormone. Adrenal hormone is called as also fight or flight. Means either you have to fight or you have to fly away. So this hormone prepares your body for that, right? Prepares your body means if you have to fight, you need power. You need what? You need energy, more power in your muscle, right? From where it will come? It will come if you have more oxygen. More oxygen means more respiration. More respiration means more breaking of food and more energy. So your body needs to get what? It needs to get more oxygen. So that's what adrenal glands are doing. It is telling to your heart to beat faster so that more blood can reach to your muscles. It is saying to your diaphragm to breathe heavily so that more oxygen you can absorb from the environment. That's how adrenal hormones are working. Next is thyroid gland. For thyroid gland, iodine is very much needed because the hormone which is produced by thyroid gland, which is called as thyroxine hormone, to make this hormone, the thyroid gland needs iodine. Thyroxine controls what? It controls metabolism of carbohydrate. Metabolism of carbohydrate. Fats, also proteins. So it mainly controls metabolism. Metabolism means digestion, you can say in one. Or how this carbohydrate, fats or proteins will be spent in our body. Okay. And helps in proper growth. And if there is any deficient in the diet of iodine, if there is less iodine, thyroid glands cannot produce thyroxine in proper or sufficient manner. So what will happen? Your thyroid gland will start to swell. That we call as goiter. Okay, that we call as goiter. So question may come, what disease occurs in the absence of iodine in your food? That will be goiter. Okay, next is pituitary gland. Pituitary gland mainly produces growth hormone, which helps you to grow. Deficiency of this hormone, if there is less growth hormone, obviously will grow less. That is called as dwarfism. If it is more, then will grow more. That is not called as tall growth. That is called as gigantism. Okay, write in your copy. That is called as gigantism. It is not tall growth. That is actually gigantism. If less growth hormone, dwarfism. More growth hormone, gigantism. The pancreas, next gland is pancreas. It produces hormone called insulin. What it does, it helps to maintain the blood sugar level. Increased blood sugar level causes diabetes. So if there is if you do not have proper insulin in your body, so what you will have? You will have diabetes. So a diabetic patient, what it does, it has to take insulin injections. You have seen the small injections, na? Those are insulin injections. Because your body is not producing insulin in proper manner. So from outside you have to supply insulin so that you can cope up with the diabetes disease. Next gland is testis. It is only present in males. It produces which hormone? Testosterone. What it controls? It controls production of sperm, how much sperms to be produced, and also the changes during puberty. If you have a brother, you can observe that what are the changes, or your classmates also, you can see what are the changes they are going through in puberty. So many changes are there. If you talk of boys, what happens? Their voice deepens, right? Their chest becomes wide. All this, their hair grows, in facial hair grows, pubic hair grows. All this happens during puberty, and that is controlled by which hormone? Testosterone. Next is ovary. Ovary produces hormone called estrogen. It also controls the production of egg and also controls the changes during puberty. It also, not only that, it also controls our menstrual cycle. That we'll study in next chapter. Okay. So what we have? We have estrogen hormone in female and testosterone hormone in male. The same job that testosterone does in male, estrogen does in female. Okay. So next, these are some glands that we are seeing in your book. You also have a diagram. So this is This is our hypothalamus gland. Here it is located near the brain. Just below it we have pineal gland. Pineal gland produces melatonin. Melatonin, what it helps in? It helps in regulating our sleep cycle. Okay. Below that, what we have? Pituitary gland, growth hormone. These are thyroid glands, parathyroid glands. This is thymus. Here we have liver. Liver is the largest gland in our body. Look, just above the kidney you have those adrenal glands which produces adrenaline. Here you have the pancreas gland which produces insulin. Here is ovary and here is testes. Okay. So our chapter ends here. If you have any confusion, you can ask me personally in the group also, in the your classroom app also, Google Classroom app also. Okay. Bye.